Whoa, we're live in a different place.
Uh-oh.
This is strange, but we're working with it. The lighting is crazy because it is the morning. This is the earliest, would mark the earliest show we've ever had in the show's history.
Yeah, so that's rough.
That's a rough one.
And we usually have a dark aesthetic, so
Yeah.
this is definitely different.
We're working with it. We're live at the Hub, and this is our season finale, sponsored by the Hub. We appreciate their support. We have, where is that volume coming from? Goodness.
Could be me.
You know, we're a clunky show. That's how this works.
I blew it. My bad.
Finale show. We have
Yeah.
Anneke Beerten in the house. Anneke. I've heard it so many ways.
Yeah, it's to me it doesn't really matter. There's
You
multiple
answer to
ways.
both?
Yeah, I answer to both, and it's funny too. I tell people sometimes when I pick up the phone here in the U.S., I say Anneke because
Yeah.
people understand it a little better. But
Yeah.
in Dutch, you pronounce it Anneke.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That will never happen to me again.
Yeah.
No, you're totally
Corrected.
fine.
we want to pronounce it the way it was intended. So
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we appreciate you like coming in. Like this is like an early show. We got you out. It's Bike Fest weekend. What's your plans for Bike Fest weekend?
Bike Fest weekend is going to be pretty full on for me. The biggest part of Bike Fest for me is doing the women's clinics,
Yeah.
the women's shred clinics. So I have that kicking off today because we have the e-mobility today. So I'm going to do a clinic on e-bikes. I'm really excited
Oh,
about
right.
that and like teach people how to ride an e-bike safely and take them out on the trails.
Nice.
And then we have multiple clinics over the weekend. I'll be hanging out. I have a little booth set up as well, so people can find me there. And yeah, it's just going to be great connecting with everybody and seeing like friends from the industry and all of that.
I think
Yeah.
that's one of the coolest parts about Bike Fest is that it brings people in.
Yeah, for sure.
You know.
And that's interesting, e-bike, because there is like a little extra techniques and stuff that you need to know about, you know, like
Yeah.
especially if you're just climbing up stuff and you get hung up, like it'll boost you.
It happened to
quick.
me.
Yeah.
I mean, I can admit that like I probably need some e-bike training.
I think the funniest thing that I always see is like people stay in one gear and like
Uh-huh.
in a super hard gear when they have the e-bike.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, you should shift it like a normal bike.
Right.
You know, work with the motor instead of like fighting it. But yeah, there is definitely a couple of like things that you can like teach people how to ride e-bikes safely, because I think that's a big part of e-bikes as well, not knowing how to control that like torque
That's a
on
good
the
point.
bike
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
and using your braking a little differently as well, because you're working with a bike that is way heavier, right? So you kind of have to adjust that and put that all into like, you know, perspective when you ride an e-bike.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. That's interesting. So, I'm like not super familiar with four cross, and that's kind of your specialty. And so I'm like, what is four cross?
Okay, yeah.
And
I know.
it's kind of
Yeah.
new, right? Like
It's-
somewhat.
It's actually not that new. It's been around for a long time, and it was maybe slightly more popular in Europe, especially back in the day when we were racing at the World Cup events. But I always say, like, kind of like compare it to BMX racing or border cross or ski across that you see in the wintertime. You know, there's four riders lined up in the gate. You have a course that is downhill, but it has like all kind of features in it, like jumps, drops, rock gardens. And it's normally about like a minute and a half. So it's really short, but it's really exciting because it's like gate racing. You know, you go out at the gate and it's elbow to elbow.
Right.
The first two at the finish line are going to the next round until you get to the final. And it's just super spectator friendly, and it's a bit of a wild discipline, you know. There's
Yeah.
definitely a little bit of some elbow rubbing going on and all of that.
Oh, I bet, because you have a BMX background, but those kind of races are, I don't know, maybe 10, even more riders. And then you got like the dual slalom, so it's like kind of like an in-betweener.
Exactly, it's an in-between of all of that, kind of mixture of that.
Oh, that's cool. That is really cool.
Well, and have it being multidiscipline is like such a good thing for being on a mountain bike, because I feel like people who have a higher discipline, like a multiple discipline background, are so good on mountain bikes. Like trial riders, when they get on a mountain bike and the way that they can like pop around because of that skill, because of that added skill
Yeah.
to a mountain bike. You know, so you bringing like all of that to this area. I wanted to get into your coaching a little bit, right? Because like there's a lot of like coaches around here that train this stuff. Do you feel like that there's a a growing demand for it? Like as the area grows, do you see that demand grow?
Yeah, totally. We see more and more people out on bikes. We see more and more people visiting Bentonville.
Yeah.
So there's a higher demand, and there's a higher demand for like all kinds of riding. It can be like pro athletes that come here to ride, but it also just your beginner rider, right? Or younger kids that want to get into riding. So yeah, we definitely see that demand kind of go up here. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, during Bike Fest, I was curious, like how many people like sign up for stuff like that? Like, do you have like a large amount that are signed up for something like that?
Yeah, we normally like sell out pretty quickly with the clinics that I'm doing at Bike Fest. Also because I keep the groups fairly small. If I do group clinics on my own with Crank It Up MTB, I normally don't do more than 8 or 10 people. For Bike Fest, it's a max of 10. The reason why I do that, I really want to make sure I keep this quality and it's not quantity.
Yes.
It's really important because when we're like coaching and I see the riders, everybody has their own unique style and good and bad habits, right?
Oh yeah.
And I want to help everybody out kind of individually versus like just doing a really general coaching session. They might learn something on the after that, but I want them to go home and feel like, okay, I tackled some of my demons that I needed to work on.
Sure.
And that's why I always kind of like to keep the groups a little smaller and not like go like for a super big volume.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it when it's intimate because I feel like that, you're talking to me, like, and when you're in a larger group, I think that connection can get lost a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I think so too. And like I did, some clinics back in the day myself that wasn't maybe on mountain bikes, but like on a dirt bike. And I learned a lot from that too. Like how did they teach me and
That's
how big
cool.
was the group? And as a female, doing a dirt bike clinic, I felt very intimidating having a lot of guys around me, right? So
Were you the only one in those clinics?
I was on that one. Yeah,
Oh,
that I
wow.
did. Yeah. And
I love it.
I immediately like took a note of that and was like, hey, you got to think of that. If there's a female that has just started riding mountain bikes and she's signing up for a clinic and there's going to be 15 other guys, that's very intimidating.
Sure.
So if you have a smaller group, it's easier to connect with the other riders in the group, and you kind of build a bond and you support each other, right?
Yeah.
Versus like kind of just standing there and like, okay, here we go.
And that makes a lot of sense because especially from a beginner level, if there's a large crowd in the class, it is, and you're timid, it's intimidating, to ask questions and stuff because you don't want to feel like
totally.
goof or
And
something.
if I tell them to do something right, or they have to like go and hit their first little jump, you can always tell like everybody's kind of look at each other like, who's gonna drop in first, right?
Right.
I don't want to make a fool of myself. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, you're here to learn. Today is a day that you're gonna like work on progressing your skills, and we're gonna make some mistakes, but we try to keep it fun as well.
Yeah, it keeps it genuine that you really want to train people and teach people how to ride properly because this can be a dangerous sport, just even on green trails,
Show the audience.
Yeah,
Had a little.
that was a week and a half ago.
What happened?
Dirt therapy. I ruptured my Achilles like 6 months ago.
Okay.
And so I haven't really done anything impactful, and I was ready to do that G out bridge, and I just came in too sharp and realized it's kind of slanted a little, and my handlebars clipped the side rail, and I just
Whap.
I was forearming 2x4s all the way down.
Oh my God, that was that Kohler one.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know the one you mean. Yeah,
Yeah.
I almost did the clip the handlebars. At
The
the
gravity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You
that
did
was
it
a
on their
rough one.
therapy.
Yeah. Well, dirt therapy. I mean, you're getting it.
I need it. But anyways.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Enough about me.
Yeah. The show's not about you.
Yeah.
So, what brought you to Bentonville? Like, what I was when you came, I want to say it was like a force. Like everybody knew Anneke's here. Like that was like the talk for a while. And so you made an impression when you came. But like as somebody like a career cyclist like yourself, like what really brought you here?
Yeah. So I first of all I had no clue that it was going to have such an impact, because I was living in California at the time. So I was born and raised in the Netherlands. I moved to California for racing and becoming like a professional athlete, riding for Specialized. That was like the place to be for me. But California got really expensive. I didn't really like the traffic, just like
Sure.
sitting in traffic a lot, driving everywhere.
yeah.
And coming from the Netherlands, I'm very used to like this morning, ride my bike everywhere, you know. And I visited Bentonville in 2018 and 19.
Yeah.
That was the first event Kenny Belay had set up for the women's shred. So that was kind of
Oh,
like the
yeah.
forerunner of Bike Fest. So I
Yeah.
coached at those events, and I was like, man, this town is pretty cool. This is, you know, pretty awesome. And I made some friends. And then at one point in California, I was like, okay, I want to flip the switch. I want to do something differently. And I had marked 3 spots on the U.S. map. And it was like Bend, Oregon, and then Park City and Bentonville.
Wow.
But I'm not a super fan of really cold weather
There
and
you
bad
go.
weather. And I was like, well, Arkansas, you
Yeah,
know, I
yeah.
was like, that's pretty good. And the riding, obviously. And
Sure.
knowing that like coaching was probably going to be something that I was going to be able to do here quite a bit.
Yeah.
And yeah, I packed up and I didn't even say a whole lot. I just like, I posted a photo on Instagram with me and my pickup truck and a trailer. And I'm like, peace out,
see
California,
you guys.
Arkansas, here I come, you know. Like, and I only knew 2 or 3 people here. I knew Jess from Bike Fest and Petty and Haley that lived here, and they were
Yeah.
like, you can stay at our house. We're going to be out of town. So if you want to, you know, start looking for a house, just stay at our place.
Right.
And I remember moving here, and so they weren't here. So I basically knew nobody.
Wow.
And then the second day, coming from California, you know, wearing shorts and T-shirt, we had a snowstorm because I moved in January. Don't ask me why, but
Yeah.
I picked January to move. And I remember standing like in the living room looking outside, and I was
Right.
like, oh, what
that
have I
whole
done?
What did I do? What did I
That
do?
whole
I was
drive,
like-
what part of California were you at?
I was in Orange County.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was in San Diego for
Oh, yeah.
7
Yeah,
years. So
yeah.
that drive in January could be super gnar going through like Amarillo and stuff.
Totally.
Oh,
Yeah.
But the cool thing was, because I posted that photo, a couple of people reached out, and one of them was Anderson,
Mm.
and the
Nice.
other one was Andrew from Bike Reps, and
Man.
then Jason, and that's who
The
I did
homies.
my first ride with, you know. And I
Very
was like, well,
cool.
I don't know those guys, but they seem cool. Let's just.
Yeah.
And I
Right.
remembered it all rocking up on like the big. The e-bikes, they had the full-powered e-bikes.
The big
and I
ones?
was on my SL, and I was
Yep.
like, "Oh, this is going to be a long ride in Bella Vista today."
Sure.
Oh,
yeah.
They were hammering.
That's great.
But it was it was so cool to get connected, you know. And before I knew it, I started talking to Gary Vernon, and we immediately connected too because of his background in BMX. And yeah, it was so excited to be in a new, fresh community,
Right.
and that was all about riding bikes and the hype of it. You
Yeah.
know, something that I just like love because that's all I kind of know.
Sure.
You know, that's how I grew
No,
up. so,
yeah.
yeah,
When you
it's-
know one thing and you want to lean into that forever, you find your home.
Exactly.
You know.
Yep.
And it's
Yeah.
great you found it here. Yeah.
So I got to ask,
Yeah.
you know, mountain bike capital of the world, and you've ridden probably everywhere imaginable. What's your perspective, one, on what is a mountain bike capital of the world, and of all the trails you've ridden, what do you think about this and the
Yeah.
claim of it?
Yeah, I mean, I get that question asked fairly often, right? What my kind of opinion is about that. And I think, you know, I've seen a lot of places all over the world, a lot of bike parks, a lot of like areas that is beautiful to ride, right? But I think I see it a little broader here in Bentonville because it's also what the community does, what the schools does, what the industry does for everything that is going on for the bicycle industry. So I don't look necessarily just at the trails, right? Like
Right.
It has so much more than just like, hey, the trails that we have. It's the whole community, my whole neighborhood that ride. It's getting kids riding their bike to school, right? It's making sure that kids learn how to ride a bike. And then the trails here are just really fun. I think it's so hard not to have a good day on a bike here.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's accessible for everybody. You know, like if you are a more advanced rider, yes, you can go to, like I just came back from Windrock in Tennessee. Well, if you are like an intermediate rider, that's going to be a tough place for you to ride. You know, that's pretty full
Yeah.
on, and it is such an awesome bike park. But here in Bentonville, I think we are more aiming, or we have more of the overall bike trails for everybody. So it doesn't matter if you're a beginner, if you're a kid, or if you're even a pro rider, you still can
You can still find something to ride that's fun and challenging. Yes.
Yeah. And now that they're going to add the lift, I think, you know, that is awesome.
Oh, yeah.
So
Well,
that will
I-
definitely help with that
That's
title.
true.
I am so glad you said that because, you know, a lot of friends back home and stuff, you know, that come out here every once in a while, they're like, it's not the mountain bike capital of the world. The trails are cool, but they're not that great. And I'm like going, but that's not what they mean by that. It is the community and just riding right out of your driveway if you want to, and just
That's a great point.
yeah.
Yeah.
And just, you know, they got the hub that's all bike oriented and themed, and
Yeah.
it's all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's like, it's just more than that.
It's more than just one trail
Yeah.
that makes it
Yeah.
have that title.
Yeah, and you can bring your whole family out, right?
Yeah.
It's cool because like even if your wife doesn't really
Oh,
ride,
my
she can still
goodness.
ride the Greenway.
You know,
And there's-
the castle is one of those places that I feel so comfortable bringing a large group of people to, because you know, hey, I can get my shred on if I want to go over here, and then they can ride that, and I don't have to be concerned that, hey, are you going to be okay behind me?
Yeah.
in the trail I want to ride, you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
No,
That's
that's
awesome.
that's a great
And I
point.
feel like you can just walk in with your helmet on and bike gear into Walmart here, and nobody looks weird at you.
Yeah,
That's yeah, that is true. This is one of the few places that is like a bike garb is just natural.
Yeah.
You
yeah,
see
you go
somebody
to that
in it,
Walmart down the street, and there's
and you're almost guaranteed,
half the people are kitted out.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
they got their ride kit and they're shopping.
especially
It's
during Bentonville Bike Fest weekend. I mean,
Yeah, totally.
it really brings it in.
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring up you working with Anderson, because you guys are working together all the time,
Mhm.
and the perspective that is able to be gained by doing this is so great. One of the ones that I really want to it comes to mind is the Mina trails, and when you guys did that, I was like, I feel like I know the place. Like when you went, like the way that you talk about it, and then the way that he structures like the follow cam, it gives the best perspective. I mean, we talk about the chest cams all the time. People doing trail preview via chest cam, but with the drone,
with the drone,
it
you can
helps.
just see everything.
You see everything.
Yeah.
And it's just I just love that you two are working together.
Yeah, it's such a different kind of perspective, but also I think it gives people a better idea when they come and visit what to expect from
Yes.
the trail, because it kind of pulls it back, right? It's
That's
not
right.
like you say the chest cam or the helmet cam. And
Yeah.
like when I mentioned when I met Anderson here, I was like, let's shoot something, and he was like, yeah, let's go. And then we had so much fun just doing it together as well,
Yeah.
just like going out on the trails, shooting and coming up with new creative ways, because if
Right.
you guys know Anderson too, he always has some idea in mind, like,
Oh,
let's
yeah.
try this or this,
Yeah. Right.
And I'm like, sure, let's do it, let's go out and do it. And the feedback that we get on trail from people that actually watch the videos is
Right.
incredibly, right? They before they visit Bentonville, they go online, they check out the videos, and they're like, oh my God, that perspective is so
Yes.
good.
Especially if you're coming to visit and you haven't ridden the trails, like you can really get a better perspective of the whole trail
Yeah.
before you come, as opposed to a POV or a GoPro, because everybody says the GoPro effect,
Yeah.
it doesn't do justice.
Sure.
So I think it's way better on a drone to see everything and all the different features, so you know what to expect. It helps
Yeah.
the pre-ride.
That's
for sure.
that's what I
It
was
does.
talking about, like feeling like I knew the trail, because I was like, well, I'm gonna go ride it now. Like I feel like I have a good understanding of
Yeah,
it.
that's awesome. Yeah.
And so like that those videos do that. And one of the things I really love about it, like one of my most favorite things, is when you guys do the land in your hand thing. I love that so much. I'm almost waiting for it every time.
It was really
Yeah.
funny how that kind of happened, because we were out at Huntley Gravity, and we were trying to figure out a way how I could do the intro, right? And we're
Yeah.
like, then we got to split up the video, and then I have to get my hold camera. And I was like, do you think I can catch that drone? Do you think you can fly it up and like I can catch it? You can kind of shut it off? And he's like, yeah, I think so. Like it took him a second, and like we tried it, and I was like holding my
Yeah,
hands
like,
out. I was like, is this actually going to work?
Blades are coming towards my hand.
And every time he does it, it also creates this like funny thing, because
Yeah.
like it never is the same the way he comes in.
Oh, right,
It's
right.
too high or too short, or
I love it.
even like a couple of weeks ago we shot Dirt Therapy.
Okay.
But at the bottom he lost signal, and what that means is like he can't really see it anymore in his camera because the signal breaks up.
Oh,
And he
right.
had to just like kind of guess
where you're at.
No.
But it worked right at the end. It worked.
So he landed in your hand blind?
blind.
No.
Oh my goodness.
He kind of saw it, and he kept going, and he said that he shut it off, and then I catched it, and
Wow.
No, yeah,
it's-
you got to keep rolling with that. That's like your signal signature move now.
Yeah,
when
it's-
we
Yeah.
watch your videos.
It's cool. It's,
Yeah, I
it's
like it. I
super
like it.
fun. Yeah.
That's hilarious. I'm shocked. I'm super shocked. But yeah, keep doing that because I mean I think it's really it seems to be really identifiable.
Yeah, that, and then also like what I really wanted to do with that is when I moved to Bentonville, I went online and I was trying to look at videos of the trails so I could like learn the trails, and I noticed that a lot of those videos were also very long.
Yes.
And when I go to places, I want to see the trail. You know, I don't really necessarily want to see somebody talk for like 5 minutes.
Me neither.
I'm like, I just want to see the trail. So that's why I wanted to do like the quick intro so people
Right.
know what kind of trail I'm riding, and then show the trail and then chat a little bit about it at the end if people are still, you know, hanging out and watching the video. So that was kind of the thought behind it too. It's like
Yeah.
I'm not creating minutes here for you to keep watching my video. I
Sure.
just really want to show you the trail so you know what you're gonna ride, and then you can check out another video of another trail
Sure.
preview.
Yeah,
So
it just ties in with coaching and what you do anyways, you know, to
Yeah.
show a trail and keep it simple because that's what we're here for. I want to see this trail and you describe it to us, so
yeah,
it totally
exactly.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the something that I would like to touch on is like you talked about the length of the videos. You know, we do a lot of like social media analyzing, and it seems like you know these like shorter digestible things are what people are looking for. And so I think that's great that you're leaning into that with these trail previews because I think ultimately people just want to get an idea of the trail. Thanks, Anneke.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ride it.
Exactly.
You know?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then hopefully I bump into them out on the trail.
On the trail, yeah. Wouldn't that be? Has that ever happened to you that you bumped into somebody that watched a video on the
Yeah.
trail that you are on?
Well, I'm not sure if it's a trail that I was on, but most people have watched the videos that come
Yeah.
and visit. That's
Yeah.
like, it's bananas, right?
That's
You're
a
out
great
on the trail and they
point.
come up. And the other day I had somebody come up to me and he said like, I watched all the videos and we decided to move here just by watching your videos. And I was like,
Whoa!
I was like,
You
no pressure
influenced.
there. I was
Talk
like-
about an influencer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, well, I hope you really like it. And I
Yeah.
hope it's what, like, you know, what you were hoping.
That's-
but it's really
that's
cool.
great.
It's just cool that, like, you know, you can reach so many people with it. And
Yeah.
that's just awesome. You know,
Yeah.
it's even if it doesn't matter where you live, it could be on the other side of the globe. You can, you know, you still have access to YouTube and watch these videos and maybe, you know, bring people out here to Bentonville and really make sure that they feel what it's like here because I was talking actually to some of the riders yesterday. Matt Jones is in town. You know,
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
First time he's here, I just randomly bumped into him on the trails and I hadn't seen him in a while, and I was like, so what do you think, right?
Yeah.
He's like, you always hear people talking about a place, but then when you get there you can really feel and see the mountain bike community and the
That's
biking
interesting.
community, how
Yeah.
like active and awesome it is. And he was
True.
like really impressed by just a Wednesday that he was out on the trails and the amount of people that were riding and having fun. So
Yeah.
That has to be a stark difference from coming from a place that just isn't very not like that any other places aren't mountain bike supportive, but to see how supportive this area is from an outside perspective.
yeah.
Well,
Gotta be a shock.
because like out here the demographics so a lot smaller. You know, like coming from Orange County or San Diego, the demographics huge. So
Sure.
everybody's got their own thing going on in different locations. But here it's here, and everybody's, you know, just like yesterday at the rail yard, it was packed. It was jam packed, and everybody was having a blast. It was
That's great.
It was great.
And also the amount of like younger kids that were riding and that were doing tricks, like my jaw dropped.
God.
Right? I was
there was
just
like
like
8-year-olds doing backflips, or I mean, they looked 8-year-olds.
They looked 8.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
indeed. Like
Yeah.
I was like, I just stood there and I was like, wow, I'm just
Yeah.
that's so impressive.
Wild.
Yeah.
Man. It's crazy.
Yeah.
If I'm guessing, it's probably the trio behind bars, like those kids, the West Sends and
Probably. I mean, they were just doing it.
They look
effortlessly.
super tiny, and
Uh-huh.
I swear they can backflip any jump, just any jump.
360.
Yeah.
Just everything. You know.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm intimidated just doing the expert line. Period. You know.
I
Let
was
alone-
so nervous dropping in the train that they did,
Uh-huh.
and I was like, "Oh man,
Don't
Oh,
be the-
pressure!
I don't wanna be the one.
I don't want to
Wanna be the one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
right.
just keep it cool."
I
Yeah.
mean,
like,
I think fortunately they've been successful trains every year.
Yeah.
I was in on last year's train and I felt the same way. Was like, just do your thing. This is just another day.
Don't
no
get
pressure,
fancy pants,
no
just
fancy.
jump 'em.
Yeah, and of course I was trying to like throw a couple tricks in
Right.
just to like
Nice.
be one of the young kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So jumping, like the rail yard. That's a place that is it's jumps. It's all jumps. How often do you ride there?
I would say maybe every other month.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of depends on the weather as well. Sometimes I take some of my younger riders there
Okay.
to do a session if the weather
Yeah.
is not great here in Bentonville and I want to work on some more
That's
like
a great point.
yeah, so that's a great spot to just go and ride, and sometimes just with friends. And like last night,
Yeah.
just to go and hang out with the community and get laps in with everybody. It
Totally.
was so fun.
One of
Yeah.
the things that's great you brought up was the fact that it's all weather, like it's weather protected.
Yeah.
So like I have been there before, like right after a rain, and once the sun hits it, cooks it a little bit, it's good to go.
Yeah.
So like I know that this weekend is kind of there's some weather in the forecast, so anybody watching this, like there's the wet weather trails. We should probably get into that here in a second. But then the rail yard. So if you want to get some jumps in and all the jumps are toast because all the dirt lips are going to be muddy, go to the rail yard.
Yeah. Go to the rail yard. We have some other spots here that you guys can come and ride,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I actually am this is I feel like as a local I shouldn't need this instruction. What are all of the wet weather trails? Because to me, all the main ones that I think of are Back 40. Used to be Hobbs. Hobbs has been recently reworked, so I don't know that all of the sections are. And Devil's Den.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the places that I think of.
If it's not raining, if it's stopped raining, I think Huntley Gravity is pretty good. Like
Okay.
give it like 1 or 2 hours, not in the rain, but
Yeah.
like right after the rain. Huntley
Yeah.
Gravity is pretty good. Then Hancock Hollow has a couple of trails that are very like native dirt
Yep.
and rocky. So I always like to tell people like use common sense, right? When you're
Yeah.
out on the trail, and look at your tires and look at the dirt. If it's like not native dirt, if you're like in the Skills Park, it's not gonna work.
Totally.
You gotta wait. But
Please don't go to the Skills Park after the rain.
Especially now. They just
Especially now,
rebuilt-
yeah.
They rebuild it. It is awesome. They did
Yeah.
such a fantastic job. I was able to pre-ride it yesterday, and Trailblazers did a fantastic job, and it's going to be so fun to ride. But
For
it's
sure.
fresh dirt, right? It's not ridden in yet.
Mhm.
We need a lot of tires on it.
That's right.
And that's
Is it
Not-
officially open?
not yet.
Not yet?
No, not
Okay.
yet. Yeah, they were trying really hard, but they're kind of keeping an eye out on the weather as well, because if there is a lot of rain in the forecast, they most likely keep it closed, because otherwise those guys are going to almost start over again next week, right? With
That's
the
true.
amount of
Yeah.
ruts and
They
everything.
they probably would
Yeah.
have to start their at least the surface over again.
Yeah, yeah.
Riding it, it's tricky. I feel like, because with even if you are like a conscious person, when you hit the trail, it's too late. You rode through it and you're like, oh no, what have I just done?
Mm-hmm.
And so and you've already done that damage. So it is something to take with caution. But I know that Bentonville, just as a whole, is very open to, if you're coming here as a tourist, ride. Get out there. I mean, you drove all this way, ride something.
Yeah.
And I mean, like you said, be conscious. And there's a lot of fresh dirt that we constantly being worked on out here.
Yeah.
So that's something to be. But the fact that you said native dirt, that's probably one of the best things. And also like these like rockier type
Trails.
spaces.
Yeah,
Right.
totally.
I also maybe Kessler probably would be.
Yeah, I
In-
rode
in-
Kessler
in
a
wet?
few weeks ago,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I think it had rained the day before and right after. But
Yeah.
there
I'm
were
pretty
some
sure.
there were some wet spots, but I mean it was flowing water, like just not like creek or anything like that.
Sure.
But I mean you could see water running off the rocks and stuff,
Yeah.
and maybe the rocks were a little slick on some of them, but for the most part,
Is there like a full list somewhere?
Probably, and I think
Yeah.
like you can always like walk into a bike shop and they can help you
True.
out there,
Yeah.
And like we do have the trails like Leopard's Loop and Choo Choo.
Yep.
But to connect those trails, you still have to get on some of the dirt trails,
Yeah.
which makes it slightly more challenging. But
Mhm.
if you have kids, go hang out at Leopard's Loop for an hour. They, they'll get tired there. and
Yeah.
it's such a fun trail.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I like just the fact that you can hit jumps right out of the gate and just
Yeah.
kind of get you warmed up. You know, it's a
Yeah.
good start.
it's a
We
great,
start
it's
there
a
a
great
lot.
trail.
Yeah.
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 I remember when I visited in 2018, Kenny Belay took me, I believe it was all the way to Slaughterpin Skills area, but it wasn't developed back then.
Right.
And then we did Jesse's last stand, and I was like, "Oh, this is really cool." But then he
Yeah.
took me up Angus Chute and down the sidewalk with the jumps.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, "Oh my God! Like,
This
what
is
is this?
cool.
Right? This is insane." And then he took me into Leopard's Loop, and I was like, "This is the coolest place I've ever ridden." Like, because as a BMX
Sold.
kid, you know,
Yeah.
like I was like, "This is a dream to have this in your backyard."
Yeah.
And now I kind of live up in the area, so this morning when I pedaled over, I
Yeah.
get to ride that, and I always like
That's
just
my
like,
favorite.
it's
That's
such a
why I always
blast.
start there. It's just a good warm up, get your knees and hips
Everything
going,
going.
and everything.
Yeah.
Gets, pumping through those rollers and stuff.
Yeah.
I always start there a lot.
Yeah. Well, being in Northwest Arkansas, it's got to be like that. The coming from California, the stark difference. What do you feel about like the scene when you rode in California versus here? Like, what do you see as like stark differences between, or are there stark differences?
Maybe a little bit, but I think in general it's still a mountain bike community.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, so that still feels the same. I had a ton of friends that rode over there. We just like had a little bit. I would say we would drive further, right?
Yeah.
Like I would go to Big Bear Bike Park,
Yeah.
and we have like Sky Park Bike Park, and then I
Yep.
would go to like San Diego area to ride, and I would go to Santa Barbara. So, but it always involved
Long
like
trips.
driving like 3 hours.
Long
right?
trips.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
let's go. And then here I just ride out of my front door, and
Yeah,
that's
a lot
like
of times
Yeah.
it took me an hour because we'd ride like Greer, Vale Lake,
Yes.
and stuff, and,
Yeah.
and then if we did do Sky Park or Big Bear, then that's like
Yeah.
2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Right.
to go
And then
through
here,
one.
like now, of course, like we got, like you said, Mina coming up, which is going to be an awesome place as well. The things that they're developing there, and that like the future is looking really bright for that. You
Yeah,
know? And
looking forward to
having that 2.5 hours, well, 2 hours 45-minute drive away is
Yeah.
great too, right? I think it's going to attract like more of the bike park people, more downhill enduro kind of focused stuff as well. So, and I think it's great to have that here because we still have to drive fairly far to go to like Angel Fire or Colorado
Yep.
and really
Mhm.
get like into the mountains.
Yep.
And the south part of the state just has that. And it's
Yes.
gorgeous out there. I've been there a couple of times,
Mhm.
and it's really cool.
Yeah, the Washita is like, I mean, it's kind of like it's just now being tapped into.
Yeah.
And so that it's really great to see that area is getting some mountain bike love, because I know that a lot of the other areas, I think of like Hot Springs, where they're like, we see what you're doing up there, we want to do some of that stuff too, and so it's getting that kind of virality that's spreading from Northwest Arkansas outward is really cool. Do you know like what the situation is with I was told that there was going to be a lift there. Is there going to be a lift in Mina?
Yeah, in Mina,
Okay.
yeah, there's going to be a lift. I kind of, they were shooting for the stars when they kind of made the plans because I
Okay.
believe there were like 5 lifts on the plan. They got the green light for 3 lifts. That's
Okay.
like what I've understood from the mayor. The mayor is awesome for Mina. I met him, and he's a hoot. He was in that video that I did
Oh,
with
yes,
Anderson.
yes, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
so, and it's like, it's so cool to see how excited they are and the town is.
Yeah.
Even if you walk into the local sandwich shop and they kind of can tell that you're like a biker, and they're like, we're so excited about the mountain bike park, even though they're not
love
really
it.
know what
They
it
don't
is,
even really
won't know what
Yeah.
it is.
No, yeah.
But they're so excited about it.
They're just ready for maybe embracing the change that's gonna
Yes.
come, which
Yeah.
is amazing to hear from a little small Arkansas town.
Exactly.
And it's
you
probably
know?
going to grow, and the revenue's going to grow. And,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and
so
it gets like people on bikes there too, right? Because
Right.
there's already like a couple of people that now started riding regularly, or they
yeah.
come to Bentonville and they see what they're trying to create in Mina, right? And I think it's just like it's great for the community there too, and for the businesses, for the small local businesses as well, right?
Mhm.
To kind of like have a new fire to keep going in a sleepy, not necessarily sleepy town, because there's quite a bit of tourism with the scenic drive
Yeah.
that goes through there.
Outdoor
The-
life.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
outdoor life is big. I do
Mhm.
think they do a lot of like the side by sides
Yes.
out there and
Yep.
stuff like that. So, but bringing mountain biking into that community is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got a 2-part question. Locally, what is your go-to trail or maybe trail system to ride the most, and then maybe like in a 90-mile radius, like what is your just favorite place to ride?
Ooh, tough one. It kind of depends on the day.
Because there's so much stuff. There's Leatherwood, there's Ponca,
Yes.
there's Nebo, there's Turkey Mountain.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I would say Leatherwood. I really enjoy riding Leatherwood
Yes.
as well.
Mhm.
And then using the shuttle. And when I'm talking locally, lately I've been really enjoying riding at Kohler. Nate Renner, the trail builder, has done such a and his crew obviously has done such a phenomenal job with the new lines.
Right.
I've been still trying to tick the box of the big one.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
still like debating whether I'm gonna even do it or not.
And yesterday he had finished, or it was open, the new cease and desist line on the left of it.
Oh,
and
okay.
yeah,
Good.
that turned out really good.
Yeah.
And I just like Fireline, I really enjoy those type of runs for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speed, high speed, downhill, some
Yeah,
descent.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really love Dirt Therapy,
Yes.
minus the bridge.
Minus the
And I'm not too happy about
Yeah,
that
because
bridge
you got
right
your
now.
scars.
I like
Yeah.
it because it's more raw.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
Yeah.
And you could really get cooking through there once you figure out all the spots. It's really fun.
totally.
Yeah, I think that's there's a lot of trails that are more like hand cut that I think have more of that raw feeling to it. And I think that Northwest Arkansas, after this large phase of machine work, that more of the hand cut stuff will probably come afterwards.
Yeah.
Once the infrastructure comes in, hubs get built,
Yeah.
and then you peel off from there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. We can totally help with that.
Yeah.
Right, some raw
Right.
lines.
Right.
I mean, it's taboo, and I don't want to encourage anybody to go out with a shovel.
No,
but
no, definitely not.
But at the same time, that is the spirit that creates mountain biking, and
Yeah.
so there's a little give and take when it comes to like local municipalities and the local mountain bike scene and how that is to be handled. Obviously sanctioned. Speak to your local municipalities about doing anything if you want it legitimized. But also, if you see a downhill and you want to go down it,
Well, I mean, honestly, most of mountain bike communities are unsanctioned shovel and wheelbarrow.
when it starts,
you know?
and then it turns into something. I mean, look at Northwest Arkansas.
Exactly.
I mean,
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people come here for that, to see the vision.
Mhm.
And I have seen this in multiple, wasn't there some people here from Japan that were just wanting to see what was happening?
Yeah, yeah, they were just in town, and we just talked about Sky Park Bike Park in California. They're actually coming to town this weekend.
Oh,
Yeah.
no way.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I still know a lot of the crew that
I love
is,
it.
is from
I love Sky
and
Park.
they-
Yeah,
they-
I brought him there once, but
Yeah.
I've been there lots of times.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
great.
It's
so
fun.
It was fun.
they're coming into town to kind of check out what we've done here in Bentonville, so they
Mhm.
can take that home and see what they can utilize of
Mhm.
the ideas, because Sky Park is very unique too.
Right.
It has that little vibe and it's unique, and but it's
Mhm.
great that people are visiting here even from Europe, to come
Yeah.
and check it out, and just we can spread the love and passion for cycling, and hopefully
Yeah.
they can create that in their own environment in town. So
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
seeing it in person, kind of like you were talking about Matt Jones earlier. You see it, you're like, I hear this stuff, but then when you come and experience it for yourself, it's a different feeling.
yeah.
So I appreciate you being, one of the advocates around here. I mean, for you not being a local and you loving this place so hard, I love it. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's very cool to see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's sometimes it's funny. Like I get comments on social media,
Mhm.
and they'll be like, "Oh, it's so biased," or like whatever. You just need to say this, because
Yeah.
of this and this. I was like, you have no
You have no idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's so crazy how people sometimes think on that. I
That's a
think
good point.
this is such a great place to live. It's very alive. I always tell people too. It's always something happening. Either if it's cycling or if it's a music festival, or we have great performances coming to the AMP, and then we got the art part, and
Yeah.
I feel like it's a really unique, cool place to be at. So yeah, and people should just come and visit.
You should just
So,
come. Just
yeah.
come to
Right.
Bike Fest.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, there's I think that's a cool part about Bike Fest is that it brings a lot of, we were talking about disciplines, multiple disciplines earlier, and like it brings in the multiple disciplines to kind of come together as one. The jump jam being a great example, because it's like, I mean, there's a lot of BMXers, but there was a lot of mountain bikers, and there's that scene that gets smashed together, and it's like, oh wait, we all ride.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And a lot of other scenes, I would imagine, I don't know this for certain, but I would just imagine that like it's separated. So you got your BMX people, you got your mountain bike people, you got your road cyclists, you got probably people that don't do much crossover, but if they cross over, they have like my friend group for mountain bike, my friend group for BMX.
Yeah.
Did you experience that in California in your part?
Not as much as here. Like you said, there's more of a mixture because also there's a lot more gravel riding.
Yeah.
And I think like that's all combined here.
Right.
So even
Yes.
if it's cross country, right, with like USA Cycling coming to town sometimes,
Yep.
and we have a lot of the gravel riding and racing, some of the lifetime events we get here. And then, we got the rail yard. We got an event this weekend where it doesn't really matter on what bike you show up. There's something happening for everybody.
That's a great
and
point.
I think that's really cool. And another thing I think for Bike Fest that is awesome, that we have the industry coming to town. So some of my sponsors are,
right.
setting up their booth here, and I get to show them what Bentonville is about. So they really understand too what Bentonville is and how alive the industry is here. Yeah.
Yeah, from a brand perspective, you need that.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
totally.
Do you gravel ride?
A little bit.
A
Yeah,
little bit?
Yeah.
Did
Yeah.
you pick that up here, or have you?
No, I picked it up here.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a road bike in California,
Uh-huh.
and I wasn't riding much on the road anymore. It was getting too scary,
Super
right?
dangerous.
So I got a gravel bike when I moved here. So
I
yeah.
have a few friends that they're trying to encourage me to do it, and then, I started mountain biking in 2020 at 50 years old, so it's like it kind of was a late start. Like I was like, why didn't I discover this like years ago? Because he got me jumping and doing all this crazy stuff. And sometimes I've been injured a handful of times now, so I'm like, maybe I should like look into this gravel riding where I can get on the on some off-road stuff still, but not like get too gnarly with it. But
Yeah.
No, I think that is a good perspective to keep in mind, is that jumping isn't the only thing that you can do on a bike.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And it's easy to get, a lot of times that's all we do. We'll go to Huntley's and just session the jump line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I ended up racing at Bella Vista, and I was like, why don't I come here? And I just got into that now.
Yeah.
And I love
Cool.
riding there. It's so fun.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was like what you said earlier. It's depending on the day, and that's one of the best parts about this place, is that depending on the day, there's something for you, and
Yeah.
you don't have to feel like I'm boxed into this one style of riding because it's the only trail that I have in my local vicinity.
Right.
You know. So I mean, that's Northwest Arkansas.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're about to wrap up on our time. We had a short episode, but we packed a lot in, and I really appreciate you being a part of
Yeah,
that,
thank you.
packing that in. So what's your day look like today? I mean, you do anything today?
Yeah, it's pretty packed. After this, I'm going to head over to the Skills Park to meet up with the guys from Trailblazers.
Cool.
And we're going to go over some of the changes they made at the Skills Park and kind of give them feedback, ride it a little bit, and see if we can make it ready for the weekend and if there
Awesome.
needs to be any changes. And it's really cool, too, that they include some of the riders and some of the coaches. Like even
Yeah.
Rich will be out there,
Awesome.
Bobby can't make it because he's injured.
I know, yeah.
But we have a little group of people together that they kind of want some feedback from. After that is wrapped up, I'm gonna go set up the booth, my Crank It Up MTB
Yeah, Crank It
coaching
Up.
booth at
Shout
the the Bike Fest.
Yeah.
Then I'm gonna head home, get lunch, and then get ready for the first clinic this afternoon for the e-mobility day.
Yes.
So
Right on.
yeah,
That's cool.
yeah, it's gonna be a good day.
It's gonna
Yeah.
be jam-packed.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a pleasure having you on, and I do want to say you've been a huge influence on me learning how to mountain bike, because I used to watch your videos when I first started in San Diego, just trying to figure it out. I didn't know how to jump, didn't know how to do anything, and now I can jump, I can do 1-footers and stuff, and just you're so graceful at riding. So I always watch your videos, just trying to figure out a style or just a groove to learn how to do it right. So
Awesome.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for watching. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
yeah.
Yeah, always stoked to hear that for sure.
Awesome. All right. Well, everybody watching the show, appreciate it. We got more shows to come,
Yeah.
and catch Anneke on the trail.
Yeah, out on the trail, out of Bike Fest. Make sure you come say hi and
That's
give me a
right.
high five.
There
Yeah,
we go.
for sure.
All right, guys. We'll see you on the next show.
Right on. Thank you.
See ya.